Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into one of the most intricately frustrating puzzles in the world of enterprise resource planning and complex project accounting. If you're a financial controller, an operations director, or an ERP architect, you already know the absolute headache of reconciling sprawling contracts where the money coming in has to perfectly match the money going out. It's literally a pain point that keeps finance teams up at night. The big question we're answering today is, how can I link customer milestones to supplier payments? We are going to demystify this complex ERP architecture and show you exactly how to connect those dots flawlessly, all without breaking your system or draining your cash reserves.
So, let's dive straight into this massive business challenge. It's a question that gets asked in boardrooms, implementation interviews, and frantic month-end close meetings all the time. How do you link customer milestones to supplier payments? Now, to a layperson, it sounds completely trivial, right? They'll just say, well, pay the subcontractor when the customer pays us. What's so hard about that? But in a large-scale system handling millions of dollars, getting these two completely different financial workflows to actually talk to each other requires some incredibly smart architectural design. You've got a client paying you based on highly specific deliverables, and you've got a subcontractor you need to pay for those exact same deliverables. Bridging that gap, it takes serious precision.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're breaking this down into 5 logical steps. 1. The milestone matching challenge. 2. Sell intent versus buy intent. 3. The common reference point. 4. Customer cash versus completion. And 5. Automating the payment trigger.
Part 1. The Milestone Matching Challenge. Picture this. You've got a $10 million customer contract for a massive new commercial building. Attached to that huge project, you have a $6 million subcontractor purchase order. And the agreement strictly states you're only going to pay your subcontractor their cut when specific project milestones like laying the foundation or finishing the steel structure are completed. Think about how common this setup is in industries like large-scale commercial construction, defense contracting, or enterprise software rollouts. The sheer scale of these numbers means that even a minor synchronization error between your billing and your payouts can result in millions of dollars leaking right out of your working capital.
And this highlights the classic pay-when-paid dilemma. It's the absolute danger of accidentally paying a supplier before your customer actually hands over the cash. Let's say your ERP system automatically cuts a 6-figure check to your subcontractor just because a project milestone is marked complete in the system, but your customer takes another 60 to 90 days to actually pay their invoice. Well, congratulations, you've just created a massive cash flow deficit for your own company. You are suddenly floating that $6 million out of your own pocket. That's a major compliance violation in a lot of contracts, and frankly, it's an unacceptable financial risk that can bankrupt a project before it really even gets off the ground.
Moving on to Part 2. Sell intent versus buy intent.
The crucial thing to understand here is that customer billing and supplier payment act as two completely separate railway tracks that just don't naturally intersect. Picture it. On the left side, you have your sell intent. This is your customer contract, the outward-facing billing events, generating invoices, and your accounts receivable department chasing down revenue. Then way over on the right side, you have your buy intent. This is your internal procurement, your supplier purchase orders, vendor receipts, and your accounts payable department cutting the checks. These are handled by completely different modules in your financial software, and they're often managed by entirely different teams who probably sit on different floors of the building. They speak different languages, and out of the box, they simply don't talk to each other.
Because of this disconnect, there's a huge architectural myth out there that you should try to jam supplier agreements into a customer project contract. Don't do it. People often try to force everything into one unified contract object, or they try to create 2 separate project contracts, one for the customer and one for the supplier. Listen, project contracts are designed primarily for customer-facing billing and revenue recognition. For your subcontractor, you simply need a standard purchase order that ties back to the project costs. Forcing a buy-side relationship into a sell-side module just creates this tangled web of bad data that'll literally take you months to untangle.
Which brings us to Part 3, the common reference point.
So how do we actually connect these 2 railway tracks? By using the exact same project and task IDs for both the customer and the supplier, we create a flawless missing link for financial traceability. Look at this setup. Whether it's the customer being billed $3 million for the foundation or the supplier being paid $2 million for that exact same foundation, both transactions point perfectly to the same project task, 3.1 foundation. This is your anchor. And this matters immensely to the executives running your organization because it gives them real-time margin analysis on highly specific project components. They can look at task 3.1 and instantly see, okay, we built $3 million, we costed $2 million, our margin is completely healthy.
To make this even tighter, enterprise systems like Oracle use what's called a DFF, or Descriptive Flex Field. I like to think of it as a digital breadcrumb trail. A DFF allows your system to store a common commercial reference right across entirely different modules. You could create a unique milestone ID, let's call it PL001, and stamp that exact ID on both the customer's accounts receivable billing event and the supplier's accounts payable invoice. Now you have a perfect, easily searchable link. Anyone in finance can query PL001 and see both sides of the transaction instantly. It's brilliant.
Part 4, Customer Cash versus Completion.
We need to dive into a crucial, real-world distinction here. Just because a milestone is physically completed doesn't mean the money is actually sitting in the bank. Standard project billing does not automatically create an accounts payable payment just because an accounts receivable invoice was generated. The site manager giving a massive thumbs up on a freshly poured foundation is great for morale, but you know what? It doesn't pay the bills. Milestone completion just means the physical work is approved and you've sent an invoice. The cash receipt is that glorious moment when the $3 million actually clears the bank and lands safely in your accounts receivable.
If your system blindly pays a subcontractor before that cash arrives, you are heading straight into the danger zone. Let's look at a quick hypothetical. Imagine your subcontractor finishes a massive structural phase, and you invoice the client. All good, right? But wait. The customer disputes the work quality and decides to hold back 20% of the funds in retention. If your ERP was set up to trigger a 100% payout to the subcontractor at the moment the milestone was checked off, you've just paid out money you don't actually have, and honestly might never get. You also completely bypass complex tax withholdings and retention rules doing it this way. Automating payouts without verifying incoming cash first is a total recipe for disaster.
Finally, Part 5, Automating the Payment Trigger.
To keep your cash flows safe, instead of a direct blind link, you implement an integration workflow that acts as an automated security gateway. Step 1 acts as the trigger. The system waits patiently for the actual cash to hit accounts receivable. Step 2 is the bouncer. It validates that the cash received is specifically for the milestone in question. Step 3 is the calculator. It figures out exactly what percentage the supplier is owed based on whether it was a partial or a full cash receipt. And finally, Step 4 securely unlocks the door, initiating the accounts payable process. It is a completely protected, logically sound sequence.
And this brings us to a golden rule of system architecture that you absolutely need to remember. A DFF can store a common reference, but it cannot itself trigger supplier payment. Data storage is not the same thing as processing logic. Remember that descriptive flex field, our digital breadcrumb trail? It's just a tag. It's a label on a folder that tells you the supplier invoice and the customer invoice belong to the exact same milestone. But a tag cannot do math. A tag cannot verify bank deposits or check for partial payments. You need an active integration layer, like an automated workflow or an orchestration tool, to actually read those tags, run your business rules, and safely release the funds.
So how can I link customer milestones to supplier payments? Well, I hope this explainer leaves you fully equipped to pull it off without ever sacrificing compliance or cash flow. We've seen that the secret isn't aggressively mashing them into a single contract. It's all about respecting the separation of sell intent and buy intent. It's about linking them smartly using common project and task IDs and relying on intelligent, step-by-step automation to ensure actual cash is in the bank before a single dime goes out your door. Think about your organization's current setup for a second. Are your railway tracks colliding, or are they running smoothly, safely, and profitably in parallel? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will catch you on the next explainer.